What is up, pigs? Back again for another episode of Blind Pig Podcast, courtesy of bgobsession.com. As always, before we get going, we'll point out that we're on all major audio platforms, as well as youtube.com, all major socials, and at the mothership, bgobsession.com. Come by, join up. It's all fun and games and rainbows and unicorns over there right now. I promise.
We're having a special.
Yeah.
We're having a special this week on fan violence. So come on by. They have the wrong explanation for why we suck, not the right explanation. So
that's
come
right.
on by. we're all savaging each other and getting into it with our fellow fans. So come on by.
Well, as we get rolling, if you're watching or you listen along, I do want to extend a warm welcome back to Brother Enforcer as he's back after a couple-week hiatus. We missed you, brother. We're happy to have you back.
Yep.
And let's go.
Thanks, guys. Good to be back.
All right, Tony. I'll let you kick it off. What was your Madrid, Spain? Your tagline says it all. Let's lose in Spanish. Let's
find a new way to lose. But
what's your reaction? Your initial reaction?
Yeah, I mean, actually, during our losing streak, this is like the better of our losses because the defense actually held the team to like 16 points or whatever it was, and we were competitive through the game, and it's just our Mariota shot himself in the foot, and then at the very end, and some other key mistakes. But I really thought when McDaniel went for it on fourth down at the very end and we stuffed him or whatever, I was like, oh, we're actually going to win this game. But it just didn't work out. But I like that our defense actually showed signs of life. So maybe the play calling thing has some merit to it with DQ taking over. But, just the mistakes caught up with us. And then it sucks to see Amos not play and some of our other but Lane got hurt in the game, so the injuries just keep on going. But overall, at least they fought. They still scrapped. They were in this game, and then even though Miami also did some things to help us too. But I just thought in this losing streak, there was at least signs of life in this game.
Yeah, I think last week we all had it as a close competitive game, even though I think there was also a fear that it wouldn't be competitive, even though we were playing Miami, who has struggled mightily this season. But we were pretty much right as far as that went. It just wasn't, we didn't come out on the right end of it. But I don't know about you guys, but that fourth down call, well, I got to say this, there is a God. I wasn't sure before this past weekend, kind of agnostic a little bit, that's kind of where I've been most of my life. But then with 5 minutes to go in the game, it looks like Washington might find a way to win. My power goes out. I mean, it is bright and sunny and 70 degrees, a little bit of wind, and my power just went out. And it stayed out until about 10 minutes after the game was over.
Oh, my goodness.
So, and this is how pathetic I am. I'm on NFL.com. I'm going to our chat room and saying, what's going on? But anyway, I was spared having to watch the missed field goal and whatever else transpired. Yeah. But I couldn't believe that when I was following on NFL.com, the live feed, I couldn't believe that they went for it on that fourth down. I'm like, I would love to know what the mindset was on that, because that just seemed like the most bizarre thing ever. Why would you go for it there? He's I think we were there on the 1 yard line or something, right? And
anyway, I'll tell you what the mindset was. They're a 3-7 team facing another 3-7 team. A touchdown is a game changer for your offense, and a field goal is kind of a letdown at that point. But what do you have to lose, right?
The game. I mean,
but I mean, right. But at that point,
I'm sorry, man. I'm just not buying what you're selling on that. I get what you're saying, but it's kind of like you're 3-7, but that's not a reason to do insane, stupid things. And I mean, hell, we hadn't scored a touchdown all day, right? I mean, what possible concern would they have that they would kick a field goal and we'd come storming back. But anyway, I just thought it was a really weird.
They knew we would miss the field goal, so they're pretty confident that Gay would miss the field goal. What you got, Bob?
If any one of 4 plays goes differently for our offense, we're having a very different conversation tonight. Even though they're, 3-7 or 4-7 or whatever, 3-3, even if they were 3-7 going into the game, we're having a very different conversation tonight if we beat the Dolphins and halt the skid, especially with the way the defense played. And the reason behind that is everybody would be saying, maybe we get Jaden back after the bye. Maybe we get McLaren back after the bye. And if you've got the defense playing this way, now understand this is the defense playing against the Dolphins, although it's a Dolphins team that put up a stupid amount of offense against a very good Bills defense just the week before, right? I mean, we managed to I haven't looked at the hard numbers, and I should do that really quick. What did HN have? I mean, he had 170. He had over 200 yards over 220 yards of total offense against the Bills. Against us,
he had over 50. He had over 50 against us in the first quarter.
He had 21 carries for 120 yards with a long of 23. He had 5 receptions for 45 yards. So he still had a pretty decent day. But we managed to hold the entire rest of the Dolphins offense in check, which is not something I think any of us were particularly confident about last week, right?
Right.
So you combine the defense rising up and playing a pretty good game, stuffing the Dolphins twice in goal-to-go situations. Add to that the possibility of getting some stars on offense back after the bye, and I think the entire fan base feels a whole lot better about the world today. But we missed 2 field goals, and Zach Ertz slipped.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, and that was a walk-in touchdown if he doesn't slip, right? He's in front of the defender. The ball was right where it needed to be. It was the perfect pass at the perfect moment. The guy just,
He also killed a drive with an unforced error, which he's been doing pretty much every game this season. And I said last week, I'm over Ertz. I'm done with it. I mean, if they had, maybe they could have gotten an Uber together, him and Matt Gay on the way out. I don't know, but I mean, I know the guy's talented and everything, but there's just no excuse for a veteran player to make mental focus errors over and over. He literally killed a drive that could have been the game-winning drive.
And we had that problem a couple of times. We got down inside the red zone and just suddenly seemed to become a penalty machine more than once. So, but again, I say change the outcome of any one of 3, 4, maybe 5 plays, and we're having a very different conversation tonight. And that's what I'm trying to keep in mind. I'm also trying to figure out what the real Commanders defense looks like.
Is there any doubt? Is there any doubt? I know this was a big chat room conversation on Sunday, but is there any doubt that the defense it looked much better this week, whether that's because Quinn took over or not? Are we all on the same page with that? That they
Well, here I'm gonna zag a little bit when everybody else is zigging. It's real quick, it's my analysis of the game. I'll encapsulate it. Bob, to your point, it was 4 plays. I could argue that 4 plays and only 2 of them were defensively or offensively. One of them is the dropped interception by Sanders. The other one's the muff punt.
Yeah.
Yes.
Those 2 plays go differently, and we likely win that game. The defense did everything it could do and needed to do to win the football game. But to elaborate on your point, John, I don't know that the defense looked better. I just think they got the timely stops and they made the key plays when they needed to happen. I will say that a lot of that I do think is Dan Quinn related, because He got exotic with some blitz packages. He disguised things. He moved things around. There was a kind of a long third down. There was a decently long third down that we brought a corner blitz and ended up sacking and forcing a punt. There was a lot of bend but don't break. We gave up a lot of plays, but when we got down into that red zone, we got closer to what we were last year when we were one of the top defensive red zone teams in the league. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, Bob, to your point about the red zone, not only did we get 2 stops, I think I saw at one point they had like 12 or 13 plays inside the 10-yard line, and we had given up 6 points.
Yeah.
Like, that's insanity, right? That is coming together and making key plays when you need to. We let them get there. We just didn't let them finish. So, well, I will say that I don't think that we looked at it like it was some much more clean executed defense between the 20s. To your point, John, I think the biggest difference was we just made plays when we needed to. And when you hold a team in the NFL to 13 points through 4 quarters, you're going to feel pretty confident you're going to win that football game more often than you're going to lose it. And Mariota unfortunately threw up on himself in the first play of the overtime.
Yeah.
I think there was opportunities before that led to that, so I'm not going to say that's the only reason we lost. Like I said, the Sanders muffed punt probably was if we could circle one play that effectively changed the outcome of the game, I think that was it. But yeah, John, I think the defense did look better when it needed to. I still think we were talent deficient. I still think that Miami was able to kind of do what they wanted to do the majority of the field, but when it needed to happen, we found a way to make plays.
Well, and I felt like they got stronger as the game went on, and I felt like the reason why I was confident in the first half, it wasn't so much because of what we were doing in terms of this, obviously the scoreboard, but we had multiple long drives. They did not. We got them off the field pretty quickly in the first half, and we were having multiple long drives, and we haven't seen that all season long. We're not much, and that was kind of part of what helped us a lot last year. Is we would convert first downs, and we would keep long extended drives going, and then towards the end of the game, usually the defense on the other side of the ball was whooped, and we were able to do what we wanted on offense. And I felt like it was going to work out that way Sunday morning, but we just made too many mistakes. But I wanted to ask a question, because I think Bob said this a few minutes ago, like if we had won that game, which we probably should have won that game, if we had won it, the whole mindset of the fan base would be different, and we'd be talking about different things. But I guess my question is, should we have? If we had won that game, should we all of a sudden have said, oh, we could still make the playoffs? We could run the table against Denver and the Vikings and the Giants and the Eagles twice and Dallas. Because I kind of feel like even if we'd won, it would have been nice, but it's kind of, I don't want to say who cares, because we all care. Yeah. We watch the games and we have a podcast, but I don't know that it would have made a damn bit of difference in anything if we had won that game. So I don't know what you guys think.
No, and I didn't mean for it to be oh, hey, we're going to the playoffs type of a moment tonight, right? What I really meant by it was, so we've got a couple of sky is falling threads on the board at the moment, right? There's the sky is falling, the sky is really falling, and now the sky is fucking really falling, right? I mean,
like, come get this sky off of me. I think that's a new,
yeah. I mean, the sky is falling so much I feel like the Wicked Witch of the West under a house. But it's I feel like the heat comes off of those types of conversations. Not so much that we're going to the playoffs, but the team looks more like we all expected it to look a little bit this year. It's pretty obvious that we've got some gaps for one reason or another. I question a couple of guys that are playing on this team. They show up for plays. I want to know why they don't show up like that every play. You know, there was that one play down on the goal line where Kinlaw just absolutely abused whoever was in front of him and then stood Ollie Gordon up and said, "Not on my watch." Where the hell is that all the time? Right? Where is that all the time? Because he's capable of that all the time. And we know that. I mean, it just, and so that's I still have a lot of questions. Don't get me wrong. I took a lot of heart away from yesterday's win. But no, I was not suggesting that suddenly the sky is blue and the flowers are blooming and my beer tastes better. And
I guess where I was going with that, Bob, is more maybe it's a blessing that we didn't pull out, a last minute win, because I think there's a certain amount of the fan base.
I think your point's valid, and I think it's the same point that I hope everybody would kind of rationalize, is that every win or loss is not a testimony toward the long-term growth or failure of the team, right? Had we snuck this one out and pulled it out, 4-7 doesn't change what we are this year. We're still riddled with injury. We are still an underachieving team. We still don't have our starting quarterback. We still probably need to move on from our defensive coordinator. We still apparently can't find a kicker to save our life. Like, none of that would have changed if we had been the ones to actually hold on and win that game by 3 points in overtime. But to your point, fans are just going to be fans. And the unfortunate thing is that the emotion tends to be like, there's people calling for Adam Peters' job right now. Like, we're literally on our board arguing whether or not Adam Peters knows how to draft. And if the 2025 draft class was a major bust because of the failures in the second round. And I'm like, let's bring it down a notch, okay? Let's calm down. I think we can all say that Joe Witt probably is not the guy long term. So if you're going to make a move, that makes a lot of sense. I don't think they're going to do it in season, just because if no reason, Dan Quinn and Joe Witt are boys, so he's just not going to do that. You know what I mean? He'll do it in the off season, and it'll kind of be a Friday news dump.
Yeah, I mean, he's already effectively done it. When you say I'm going to make the defensive play calls, and you're not the defensive coordinator,
you're not doing good enough. Exactly. So there's a lot there, but and there's tweaks and changes that need to be made. I think we can all agree that our defensive line needs to be invested in. Daron Payne's probably not here next year. Same with Lattimore, unless there's a major change. So there's going to be some roster turnover, but chances are we're probably going to lose more games over the rest of the season than we win. But that doesn't mean that we need to change our outlook. I don't think we're in a different position because of that. And to your point, John, if we had snuck this one away, I don't think that should change the position of where we're at as a franchise, right? Like, one win does not mean that we've got it all figured out either. There's still a lot to do, and we're still a struggling football team.
So
I think I was gonna say, I think if we had one, no one except like the extreme kind of people would think we're going on a run or we're going to run the table or anything crazy like that. I think it would just feel nice after stacking losses to just finally, I watch this team every week. We finally got something nice. I think it would just be a feel good thing, but not in anything long term. I don't think would have come out of a win in this game.
Yeah, I posted a poll on the board, basically in a nutshell, basically saying, would you rather win as many of the remaining games as we have, or would you rather kind of lose for draft position? And unfortunately, I kind of blew up my own thread before it started because I used the word tank kind of sarcastically. I don't think that NFL teams tank per se. And I certainly don't think it matters whether fans want them to tank or not. But I think because I used that word, it got a lot of people in an uproar. So I am not a tanker. I know Al Galdi has his lose out, initiative. going. I think probably full blast right now, but I don't know how you guys felt, but I felt like that game was actually probably the best scenario because we looked better. We did not get, trucked and embarrassed. We were competitive. The defense, although they let them move up and down the field, in the red zone, we were really tough, but we lost and our draft position improved. So I kind of felt like it was the perfect outcome as far as like what was best for the long term. I know some fans just get really pissed off when you talk like that. And I mean, I try not to judge how people fan because everyone fans their own way and we all want to win, right? I mean, last year we weren't having any of these conversations about, with fans going after each other because everything was good. So hopefully we'll get back to that kind of a scenario. But anyway, I do think at this point, the best thing that can happen to this team is not to win any more games. And I'm sorry if that pisses anyone off out there, but I just think whether I want that or not, I'm not rooting for it per se. I just think that is the best thing that could happen is that we lose the next 6 games and as much as we can move up that draft board. I think that would be a good thing, especially since the draft shelf is a little bare right now in terms of picks because of some of the trades we made. And it would be nice if we had a top 5 pick that we could maybe trade, out into the 20s and get a couple extra picks in there. I think that would be a really good thing for us.
I think as fans, we are allowed to think that way. In the locker room, Dan Quinn better be in there telling them they better not lose another fucking game if they want to keep their job, right? The expectation, this team should never accept losing. They should never hope to lose. But as a fans, we can understand the big picture of the better our draft status, the better opportunity we are to build the team long term. I think all 4 of us can realistically say we'll do that. But then when we watch the games on Sundays, we're going to be rooting for the team. We're not going to be visibly upset if they end up winning, right? I think there's a lot, and I think that conversation's changed with Jaden Daniels. When you don't have your starting quarterback of the future, or at least who you believe to be your starting quarterback of the future, the need to be in the top 5 is a lot higher. But when you have that guy, dropping from 9 to 11 isn't as big of a drop, right? So you kind of want to win in any opportunity that you can because we're limited on these things, right? And we're limited on how many shots we get at this or how many times we get to watch our beloved team throughout a season. To hope for them to lose, I mean, at that point, go play with your kids or do something more productive with your time. I hate to put it that way, but
I think you can take it even a position further than that, Derek. If there are 2 positions on the field that you typically want to be drafting in the top 5 to get your hands on, it's quarterback and left tackle. And you can argue we got both of those guys, at least for the next 3-4 years, depending upon how long Tunsil wants to play, right? Tunsil's playing lights out at the moment. He's one of the absolute bright spots on the offensive line. And once Jaden's healthy, then, you've got your quarterback and your left tackle in place. The only other position on the field I feel like you may want to be in the top 5 for is that edge position. But you look around the league and some of the best pass rushers in the league were drafted in the 10 to 15 range. I'm thinking about Micah Parsons at number 12. He may be the single biggest game wrecker on defense in the league at the moment, outside of Jalen Carter. And Carter wasn't a top 5 pick. Carter was what I think he was bottom 10, wasn't he? I'd have to go look it up.
He fell because of some off the field stuff, right?
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah.
But I mean, I'm just, I like the idea of a top 5 pick because I like what John's talking about. I like the idea of potentially being able to move out of the top 5 to pick up something. I'm not sure I want to drop down as far as the 20s, but mid-teens. Dude, if I could drop from 5 down to 12 and pick up a second this year and a second next year, or a second this year and a first next year, I'd be willing to talk about that kind of a thing, right? and I think Peters would be too. The other thing is, and I've seen a lot of this talk on the board, and I think it's something I'm for, and that is I want to see some of these guys playing meaningful snaps that we haven't necessarily seen play meaningful snaps. And by that, what I'm really looking at is I would like to see Ben Sennett playing Zach Ertz's role more. I would basically like to see Ertz and Sennett split snaps for the rest of the season. And I would like to see what we've got in Sennett. I said this on the board today. I have absolutely no evidence to back this up, but I almost feel like it's less Sennett is a bust than it is Ertz is in a favored position with Kingsbury because they have history. And Kingsbury, trusts him in a way that he doesn't trust almost anybody else on this offense, not named Jaden Daniels.
And he did play well last season.
Jaden trusts him. I mean, that's blatantly obvious.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's kind of Jaden's safety blanket, but I would very much like to see Ben Sennett get some of those snaps in play calls where the tight end is the 1 or the 2 read on the play. Right? I feel like most of the plays where Sennett's actually out in a pattern, he's the 3rd, 4th, or 5th option.
Or he's got like the blatant matchup, right? Like it's not a play call, it's an opportunity where they look and say, there's a 190-pound corner on Sennett. Let's let the guy, that's not normally the first read, but you see it.
Or he's just not very good. I'm just throwing that out there as another possible explanation.
Yeah.
But here's what I can tell you. Every time we see him do something,
we're talking about Ben Sennett, and Yankoff is the guy that looks like he has potential in this. I mean, I'm just saying I'd like to see Yankoff get more opportunities. He had some really good moments on Sunday morning, and I know he's, sometimes he's just a guy, right? He's literally like just a guy. So he doesn't have any pedigree of any kind. He's just a guy, but when he's in the game and they give him a chance, he seems like he makes plays. So I would like to see more of him. I know what Ertz is capable of, and that's some really good plays and then mental mistakes that kill drives. I know that's those are his 2 things that he does really well.
All right. So I've got to ask, because I read an article about Yankoff that screamed about him. It was a fan article over on, I don't know, Rigo's Rag or someplace like that. You just brought him up. On the season for 9 games, he's got 1 catch on 1 target for 4 yards. What the fuck has he actually done? I got to ask, what has he done? Because he hasn't been touching the football. And until I read the article the other day, and then you brought him up, he wasn't on my radar. And I've watched all but 2 games this year. So what am I missing, guys?
He's done as much as a 2nd-round pick has done for starters.
Except for the fact that Sennett is actually blocking really, really well.
Well, I don't think Yankoff's gotten, I don't know how many reps he's gotten in 2025. It's not much.
Question. I don't know.
But I just thought he played really hard on Sunday morning. And I'm really just reacting to why keep trotting Ertz out there. Ertz is probably in his last – I don't know if he's announced this his last season, but it's got to be – I mean, they got to be looking at him going, we can't just keep bringing Zach Ertz back.
Well, and I think Bates even made a couple plays in the past game, if I'm not mistaken, right? I think he had at least 1 or 2 catches, and then there was another one where he got interfered with that ended up extending a drive that might have been our touchdown drive.
Bates is on the season. Bates is 6 receptions for 10 targets for 62 yards. So he's averaging a first down a catch.
I mean, I'm on the draft bus that we need a difference-making tight end. I think that's one of the biggest priorities we have, and we have a lot of priorities. But I just think a young quarterback like Jaden, you got to have that safety valve guy.
Yeah,
and we don't have that now.
You need that. Oh God, who's the cat you were all in love with a couple years ago, John? Not Hawkinson. There was another one.
Sam Laporta was the guy.
Sorry, Laporta. There you go. That's the one I was thinking of.
Well, did Sam Cosmi get hurt on Sunday? Am I imagining that?
No, you're
Do we
not
know-
imagining. He did get 10-2. But I heard nothing about it after the fact.
Yeah, I haven't heard anything
Yeah.
yet.
Like I heard nothing.
What about Laporta?
No, about
No,
Sam Cosmi.
Cosby.
Oh, Cosme.
He
I
went
haven't heard anything
down.
about Cosme.
I haven't heard anything either.
He
Oh.
went down, but I don't remember.
I think he was back in overtime.
Okay.
I hope so. I was just
I
hoping it
think-
wasn't like an aggravation of his previous injury, like at least be
Yeah.
something different. What about Jaden? Have they said anything? And again, I've kind of checked out the last week or so and haven't been listening to a lot of media, but are they expecting Jaden and Terry to be back for the Denver game, or have we heard anything on that?
I don't know about Terry, but they reported Sunday during our game that Jaden was at Redskin Park, Commander Park, whatever. He was at the clubhouse
Big
throwing
Bear
the football
AI.
yesterday. He apparently watched the game from the practice facility, and he was practicing and throwing the football.
And running.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he was there working, which I consider fairly positive. Now I don't know whether he's in a position to play after the bye or not, but that's a positive. I don't know what the situation is with McLaurin.
So we heard today that Matt Gay got released, and they signed Jake Moody. I don't really have an opinion about that. Although he is a pretty heralded kicker coming out of, was it Michigan? Is that where he kicked in college? I think so.
Sounds right.
But anyway, he was kind of came into the NFL with a lot of hype. It hasn't worked out so far. But do you guys think they're going to make any other moves in the next week or so, or anyone heard anything as far as personnel goes?
I haven't heard anything. I don't expect them to do much because to the same point where you were just talking about, and you said you use the evil T word. I don't see them doing anything drastic at this point. They're going to maintain the roster, and hopefully they start to look at developing what younger players we have on the roster, right? Like,
Yeah.
I mean, we're looking at guys now. We need to start thinking about what are we going to do in 26. How much money are we going to give Deebo Samuel to bring him back? Like, if we want to talk about some moves, he's been arguably the best player on our team this year.
He's been good.
And that
was a good addition.
And that includes the conversation with Jaden, right? Like, and I'm not saying that to belittle Jaden, but it's the truth. Deebo has been as good as anybody on the field at any time. He's been as good as any defender, and he's been as impactful as anybody. So you got to have those kind of conversations, and then you got to look at what's our wide receiver room going to look like next year, because I honestly don't think Terry McLaurin's here in 26. After the way things went down and how much money he's going to be owed after 26, there's an opportunity you might be able to move him in this offseason. So I don't see any big moves coming. I just don't think the opportunity's there. Plus, the guy's got to be walking the street because the trade deadline's passed.
Right.
So it's got to be somebody who's just like, sitting on a couch somewhere.
Just be
So
like
it's not exactly like a seafood buffet out there. It's more like, the 2:00 hour on the Chinese lunch buffet where everything's dried out. And you just kind of.
I don't know. We found Treylon Burks a couple of weeks ago. That's a former first-round pick right there who got cut because he couldn't stay healthy, not because he was playing poorly.
That's another guy.
now hurt. Yeah.
Like
Now
Stone's
broken
saying,
leg,
when we
right?
Find someone with potential.
No. His is a finger, and he's supposed to be back.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he had
Treylon
surgery.
Burks
He had
minor
procedure on his
surgery
finger.
on a finger. Yeah.
You'll have to
which
forgive
sounds
me
like
for not being able to keep track of the injuries.
No.
Yeah. no
Which
kidding.
sounds like an ingrown fingernail.
Well, we're at the point now in the season where guys that went on IR, like at the beginning of the season, are now like eligible to come off or whatever. Like I don't know, did Will Harris already come off or?
Jones did.
No.
He played.
I know that like the defensive end that Drake, somebody that we signed, kind of knowing that he was injured. I think he's almost ready to come off injury status, but I think we're going to get some people back, and now that it doesn't matter anymore. We'll start seeing
Yeah.
some.
But no,
some guys.
John. You're right. They designated 6 days ago. They designated Will Harris to return to practice, opening his 21-day window.
Okay.
Which means if that happens, when the timing means that they're probably expecting him to be back for the Denver game. You know what I mean? Because of the bye. Yeah, I the rest of this season at this point, it's evaluation time. You know, I hate to say it that way. We didn't want to be here, but I think it's the God's honest truth. And you know, Tony, we talked a little bit about it, but let's say if Jaden is healthy, do you want to get him back out there, or do you think you just wrap him in bubble wrap and keep him for 26?
Yeah, I mean, as fans, everyone is like, "Ooh, bubble wrap." But I think as the team, as players, and then even Jaden himself, he's a younger guy. I think if you're healthy, just go play. Go get some more reps in. So I think if he's actually healthy, they wouldn't put him out there if he wasn't healthy enough to play. But I think just go get back out there, get some more reps in there, and these are all competitive people, and then it also helps you evaluate some of the other younger players too. If you have Jaden back out there, I think he should play if he's healthy enough. He should just go back out there.
Yeah, I was kind of like I wasn't on the bubble wrap train, but I was kind of just putting it out there as like a thought. You know, do we really want to? He's been injured 3 times already. Do we really want to? I mean, the worst absolute nightmare scenario would be him out there against the Eagles in Week 18 and have him have like a serious injury or something. But I think you're right, Tony. I mean, there's and somebody said this on the board that there's no precedent for a healthy franchise quarterback to be like a healthy scratch because the team sucks. There's literally, I don't know that any NFL team has ever done that. And so if for no other reason that like the coaches, they have an incentive to like try to win games. Like Derek was saying previously, their mindset is we got to win next week. And I mean, it doesn't matter what our record is, right? That's their mindset. So they're not going to, I mean, Adam Peters would have to come down from Mahogany Hall and say he's not playing for that to happen. And I don't see that.
Yeah.
So I think he will play if he's healthy. The only caveat would be if he's still dinged up and he's like, if he's never fully healthy the rest of the season because he's still recovering from the elbow or the quad or whatever the knee, whatever injury he's had. I could see him holding them out, but I just don't. I think Jaden would throw a fit from hell if they try to do that, and that's just the nature of the guy. And so I think they'll play him if he can play.
Yeah. Plus, I think that would be detrimental to what Dan Quinn set up. He set up like a hyper competitive, team first kind of environment. And then if you pick and choose,
exactly. And
you don't go play when you're healthy, then that's the fuck you're talking about. So.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nobody's bigger than the other 52 guys on the team.
Yeah.
So it's 2026. It's 2026, you guys. We're fast forwarding. How concerned are you about like the generals? I know this is a really hard question to answer because we got the draft and free agency and all the rest of that to go and possibly coaching changes. But how bullish or bearish are you on like the 2026 season based on this season? Like, in other words, how much has 2025 undermined your general confidence in like the direction of the team? Or are you like, look, it's just all the stars aligned in a bad way in 2025 and we got screwed in the pooch and it'll be different in 2026. How do you feel about that with 6 games to go?
I feel pretty good about 2026. I think 2025 has been something of an aberration. Dude, nobody in the league. Was it today or maybe it was yesterday afternoon? I saw a report about the number of injuries that we've sustained versus the rest of the league. Nobody in the league is dealing with what we're dealing with right now. And it hasn't just been, maybe if it had been spread across the roster, we'd have been in better shape. but it wasn't spread across the roster. It was focused in the wide receiver room, in the defensive end room. And then we had some other stuff sprinkled around there, you know, and it just, well, now I guess you could say it's been focused in the defensive backfield room too, because between Jones, Harris, Amos, and Lattimore, those are, you know, 3 starters and a guy you figured was going to play significant snaps for us when he was signed in the summer. I don't know. You just look at this and you go, the football gods giveth and the football gods taketh away. And last year they gaveth, and I will revel in 2024. I don't give a shit what anybody says. It was a great ride. And and 2025 has been suboptimal. And I just I'm
gonna change the name of the podcast tonight. It's gonna I've got a Washington favorite and we talk. I'm gonna change it to 2025 was suboptimal.
Yeah.
But you know, I'm gonna knock on wood. Barring the same kind of injury catastrophe, 2026 can't be like this. I just don't think there's any way it can be like this. All of these young guys that we've been bringing in are going to have another year under their belt, and that's a positive. I don't believe Peters is as bad at drafting as some people on our board seem to want to think at the moment. And if you're listening, you know who you are. But I still think this is very positive. I think Quinn is learning from this. I think Quinn is taking notes. I think there will be a few changes in the coaching staff. I got to tell you, I mean, I keep hearing people say, you know, Kingsbury will be gone this year. I don't know that Kingsbury will be gone. It's not like the offense has been lighting the world up this year. You know, last year I totally understood why people were talking about Cliff getting the headset again. This year I look at the offense and I'm like, part of our problem has been the play calling. Part of the problem is execution on the field, but there have been a couple of moments I just felt like Cliff was in a different game than the rest of us were watching, right? He was just watching something different than the rest of us were watching. And so I'm not sure that this is the kind of performance that he gets a bunch of interview requests out of.
The latest rumor I read right before it came on was that Florida might be after him. I don't know if that's true or not, but
you mean University of Florida?
Yeah.
Well, then the question becomes, does he want to go back to college? And if he wants to go back to college, that's a different matter. And I can totally see that happening, John. You're right there. I was thinking just NFL.
I'm with you, though. I don't know that. I mean, if I'm Cliff Kingsbury, I'm like, I got Jaden Daniels. And I have a GM who's going to get me more weapons as time goes on. I mean, he got him a lot of, you know, we tried to do a lot on the offensive side of the ball in the offseason. So I don't know. I think we always assume that he's done the head coaching thing. He did a pretty good job in Arizona. He got fired anyway.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure he deserved to get fired. But so I don't know. I think we always assume that they want to be a head coach, that that's the end all be all. And he might not. I mean, so I don't know.
I think there's a lot of coordinators that find their spot and they want to stay there. Like, look at Larry Izzo on our staff. I mean, I'm sure, you know, he didn't grow up thinking I'm going to be a special teams coach for the rest of my life, but he figured out what he was really good at, and and the same thing with Danny Smith. Danny Smith was a special teams coach I think he's still doing it with the Steelers, right? Like,
yeah, he's still in Pittsburgh.
Like, I don't think you've ever seen any aspirations of him to want to move up. I do wonder that Kingsbury looks at it and he says, this is my thing. This is what I'm really good at. This is what I'm comfortable and confident in. And I'm still making money that's on par with head coaches. So at this point, it's just the ego and the legacy would be the only determining factor. I don't think it comes down to money. Right. So, well, I see some changes coming on the. Sorry, go ahead, Bob.
Well, I was gonna interject there real quick, Derek. I would argue that you can put the legacy up even as a coordinator. You know, Steve Spagnuolo is going to go into the history books as the only coordinator to win 4 rings, right? And let's go back to your first statement. He's got Jaden Daniels.
Yeah.
and a front office that believes in what he does, it's entirely possible he could be the first offensive coordinator to put up however many rings, right? With a young kid like this and a sharp office and a supportive ownership group, he's in a great position here. So anyway, sorry, didn't mean to.
Yeah.
No, you're
I'm
good.
with
I
you,
agree
Bob.
with you, and that's why I was just doubling down on what John said.
Yeah, but I'm with you, Bob, overall too for next year, because I think for this year, sometimes the most obvious answer is the answer. Like you're saying, the injuries were just freakish amount. Um, Even the start of the year, we weren't playing our best, and we were 3-2. And then this injuries just kind of collapsed everything. But I'm not overly concerned for next year, because this year was easily explainable. And then with Cliff, I mean, you cross the bridge when you come to it. Like say he does go to Florida. Um, we have in-house options. Dan Quinn's got a good reputation around the league. Maybe the Dolphins coach comes here to be the coordinator if he gets canned, aside from the in-house guys. So whatever coaching changes will be made, the good thing is we have a head coach who can attract and retain good other coaches or assistants and whatnot.
Mhm.
Even so that part I'm not overly concerned with either. And I'm not concerned with Peters of all things, that some of these people are losing their mind about. So I think you do this to any team in the league, they're not going to have great results. So
Yeah, I just want to reiterate, just to piggyback on what Tony just said. Just the same guys that are getting shredded by fans, including Cliff Kingsbury, who, oh, by the way, Cliff Kingsbury, the latest thread that I saw was that he hates to run the ball and he won't run the ball, and that's a huge part of our problem. It's like, Cliff Kingsbury, we had the 5th most rushing attempts in the entire NFL in 2024. And yeah, some of that was Jaden taking off, or designed runs. But
Yeah,
nevertheless,
but when we're down by 20, it's kind of hard to run the football.
right. It's kind of
Yeah.
like, everything,
Yeah.
you have to kind of put it in context. Just like Derek said, you're down by 14 to 21 points right out of the gate. It's like no offensive coordinator in the league is going to try to pound the rock at that point, because you can't, because you're not going to have time to catch up to, when you're down like that. So, and anyway, I guess my point is, the same guys that did this amazing job coaching in 2024, guess what? They're the same guys. It
Yeah.
happens. It's not like you can only do so much in the kind of situation that they've been in. So just take a chill pill. I mean, just, calm down and try to have some perspective on, it's probably not that they've all been possessed by the devil and are terrible, evil people that need to be run out of town. It's probably not that. It might be something else. I don't know, but it's not that. So, I like Cliff Kingsbury a lot. I think he's like the perfect offensive coordinator for Jaden and the kind of offense that we want to build around him. I really do. So I hope I hope he's here for 5 years.
And the other thing with Cliff is, I wonder how many times he's in meetings with Dan Quinn and the coaching staff, or even if he's at home on his iPad or whatever, and he's like, man, what I could do if I had X, Y, and Z. Like, they think about that kind of stuff. They're not
Z.
They don't
Just give me Z, man.
right.
Yeah.
They don't. One thing that I think fans need to understand is that these guys are competitors, and as long as they're brandishing that logo, they're looking at things through tunnel vision, right? Their focus. Kingsbury's not thinking about where he's going to be in 26 right now. I guarantee you, he's sitting up grinding game tape and he's thinking about Denver, right? So all of these, everybody who's jumping up and down talking about we're going to lose this or lose, they're not even thinking about that yet. He's going to think about that on January 5th or whatever you know what I mean, the season's over with. And then that's going to be a calculated conversation that I'm wondering if he's looking back saying, Dan, bring back Debo, draft, give me a little bit of, let's get our O-line healthy. Let's get Jaden healthy. Let me get a playmaker at the tight end position, and let me go out here and I can put up 35 for you so that your defense doesn't have to be perfect.
Yeah. And then even with Cliff specifically, if you remember in the offseason, all the stories were like him and Jaden come in like the earliest. They're always the first ones in. Like their work ethic is
Right.
still hyper competitive. So yeah, I'm not worried about him not focusing on the season.
Well, fellas, I don't think we can do predictions against the bye week. I think it's pretty much guaranteed we won't walk away with an L. That's good. I back to circle back around. I don't know that everybody needs to look at Jake Moody like he's the answer either. I think this is a shot at somebody who is available. So I doubt he's like a long-term thing. He's probably going to be pretty much on par with what we've had come through here. He'll probably make 65-70% of his kicks. Hopefully he can connect on a couple above 50 and change some outcomes, but that was Matt Gay's MO. It was before he got here, guess what? He could not hit 50-yarders with consistency. And guess what happened after the fact? He could not hit 50-yarders because I think both of his misses yesterday were from 50 plus, if I'm not mistaken. So
yes.
Yeah, I think so.
I don't know. I hope the fans aren't looking at this like it's an answer. This is just a necessary move.
Well, I think it has and we've heard our own fan base criticize Quinn, like especially when it comes to wit, and he has demoted his friend from which that's a really hard thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
He demoted the defensive coordinator.
That's his boy.
And then he cut a kicker that we paid a lot of money to. So, I mean, I think there's a certain aspect of like sending messages to the roster, which is, look, we want you to succeed. We're going to try to put you in every position possible to succeed. But ultimately, if you can't do your job, you're not going to be here. And I think that's probably more what that move was about versus Jake Moody. That's just my guess.
Right.
Well,
you're right.
Yeah, I agree.
Who knows? One of these years we got to hit on some. How many guys have we cut that have gone on to have great careers other places? Sooner or later, we got to bring in a guy that somebody else cut that has a great career for us.
Maybe that's going to be Jake Moody. Who knows, man?
Let's go.
You're right. He was Michigan. He was a 3rd-round draft pick from San Francisco several years ago when Adam Peters was still in San Francisco.
There is a little bit of drama that Debo apparently slapped Jake Moody in the face mask after he missed 3 field goals in a single game, just trying to bring everybody back to reality. But I think that if you watch the video, that was him. He was more mad at the long snapper. So I wonder if, you know what I mean? If there was something else going on there. But just keep Jake Moody and Debo Samuel on opposite sides. One other thing I really need to address, and I have to be critical where it's deserving to be critical. Why the hell is Mike Sanders still back there to return a punt in a pivotal point in the game? Yeah. He hasn't caught a punt in a game situation in like 5 years.
We weren't used to forcing punts, so we didn't know what to do.
I got nothing.
Oh, that's a good one.
There's nothing to add to that. Tony just it was a mistake because they were panicked. We had to put out the punt team.
Somebody lost their helmet, so they just grabbed the next guy up.
He just shoved Sanders still out there. Just field it, Mike. Just field it.
I'm sure there's no one asking that question anymore than Sanders still is asking it. Like, why the hell?
Well, I wonder if Sanders still didn't get in Quinn's ear, and he's like, "Dude, let me go out there. Let me do it. I got you, coach." I don't know. I'm just speculation. It was just a destined to be a terrible decision, in my opinion. Like, if anything else, don't put anybody back there. Go for the block, let it bounce. Like, the worst possible move was to muff it.
The only reason I can think of is that we keep losing wide receivers, and Jalen Lane is now like number 2 on the depth chart. And my guess is they didn't want to put him back there on punt coverage because he's number 2 on the depth chart.
All right, well,
You
we
know,
keep
it's the same-
losing
I mean-
corners, and Mike Sanders still's number 2 on that depth chart too. Like,
Yeah, well, no, okay, you're not wrong. You're not wrong, Derek. Okay, I should have thought
I
that
think
one
the
through.
answer. I think that the consensus answer to your question is nobody knows why.
nobody know. I don't get it, and I have to
Yeah.
be critical. And I'm not. I do not live with Ashburn syndrome or Burgundy and Gold like that. That was a bad decision in my opinion. I don't know why
As
we
my-
did it, and it came back to bite us in the ass.
As my dear
Yeah.
departed father said 150,000 times as I was growing up, it seemed like a good idea at the time.
Yeah, I say
Yeah.
that all the time.
Hey, so before we call it a night, non-game related, how are we feeling about the selection of the architecture firm that designed the
Yep.
Cowboys house, SoFi Stadium, US Bank Stadium, and 2 or 3 other places in the league?
Well, I just don't want any stripper poles. So as long as we don't install the stripper poles like they did in Dallas, I'm okay with it. But I don't have an opinion about it.
Wow.
No stripper poles.
I think honestly, I
Yeah.
think this is it's kind of like a gimme. It's a no brainer. I think this again is the NFL getting involved and saying that we need to recreate a footprint in the nation's capital because they know as well as anybody else does when the team in Washington is profitable, it's good for everybody. You know what I mean? So it's
Yeah,
fun,
makes
it's
sense.
cool, but I don't know that it doesn't really move the needle because anybody that comes in is going to create something that is, well, not anybody. I guess the 4 of us could probably fail pretty easily, but but it's pretty cool to have them on board and I actually had the article up because I was gonna talk about it. So good call out, Bob.
I was honestly a little surprised. I mean, don't get me wrong, this architecture firm is obviously a brilliant choice, and I think they had 2 good architecture firms they were looking at, but they went with the other guys to redo the locker rooms out at Ashburn. They used the other guys for all of the stuff that they've changed at Ashburn since ownership took over, and then they switched back. And in my experience in the corporate world, that's a little strange. Once you've got a horse that's doing pretty good for you, you tend to ride that horse. And so it feels like, I don't know, there's a couple of ways to look at it, but I think the way I'm looking at it is maybe these guys are taking the whole concept. This wasn't a rubber stamp, is what I'm trying to say. This was an important decision, and they took it seriously, and they made, and in the end, they decided that somebody other than who they normally work with was the better choice. And that is not common. Speaks well to Josh Harris and his leadership and the ownership as far as I'm concerned. Just knowing how
I'm good
corporate
with it.
Yeah.
Well, boys, we're coming up right at an hour, so we'll close this thing out. If you made it this long, we appreciate you. Pour yourself a drink. Cheers, fellas. Happy to have everybody have 4 of the originals back. We can get a couple more hopefully next week. And give us that share, follow, hook us up on all major socials. Hit us at bgobsession.com. And of course, as always, that'll do, pigs. That'll do.